week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. And right now, you can get a special price by going to pilchpoint.live/PureVPN. All right, Avram. So you have got more information on Windows 11 for us, right?
Yes. So Windows 11 has become a big, well, it's going to be big because, it's the next version of Windows. And a lot of people have it now as an insider. And I have to admit, it has been taking up a lot of my time the last few weeks because not only do we want to see how it works, we want to see how to change the way it looks. So let me share with you something we didn't get to do when we discussed Windows 11 before it actually became available, which is to show you what it looks like. So I'm sharing my screen here, and you can see this is the default Windows 11 desktop. And the first thing you'll notice if you haven't looked at Windows 11 before is that everything is centered by default. The Start menu, this is the Widgets menu. You're going to see. Oh, I hid the task view 1 second. But anyway, this is what your Start menu looks like. It shows things that you have recently used and should actually sync this across devices if you have Windows running on another device. Although I have found it does not necessarily doing that. But anyway, it shows the apps that are pinned. Then if you want to see all of them, you've got to click all apps and go down this list. The search function is a little bit buried here. In that when you click it, you get this extra search menu. And that's different from Windows 10, where you have a search bar in the taskbar that you can start typing into. But the search ends up working basically the same. So if you're looking for an app, or you're looking for for a document or something like that, you just search for it, and it'll also have web results. Another thing that's new here, if we go and actually open a window, is the snap capability. So if you hover over, you'll actually see this menu of all the ways that you could possibly snap this window. So let's say I want to snap it like this, and then if I had, let's say, another window, this is my virtual machine, so I don't have a lot of great stuff on it right now, but let's say I'm snapping and I want to go like this, well, now it's going to align it like so, right? It gives me all the snap options to move these things around. Now, I'm going to enable the task view, which I had kind of hidden for other reasons, but shouldn't be hidden. And when you go into the task view here, you have multiple desktops, right? And if you have, and you can easily switch back and forth, and each desktop can actually have its own wallpaper. So if I really want this to say be my work from home desktop, and I want to switch back and forth, you can see that. Did I only change? Did it change on everything? In this case, it changes everything.
Seem that way.
It's not supposed to do that. There's a way of customizing. Is it that I have to? Oh, okay. Well, you have to do it in here. You have to right click and select choose background just for that one, I think will do it. And that will allow you to do it. But so another thing you have here is the widgets, window widgets. And this is really like the MSN homepage that you get when you open Edge browser by default. You get all these news headlines, which are supposed to be on topics that you care about, and you can, if not, you can go and change. You can go in here and you can customize what you want here, like your calendar. They recently, just this week, added this movie one, this entertainment one, and when you click it, it lets you buy that movie. I don't see how that's good for Microsoft, but I don't see how that's great for you. as we said, there's going to be a new Microsoft Store, but they really haven't refined it yet, and it's going to actually have Android apps in it that you can install. But let's take a step back here. What do you guys think, Alante? What do you think of the new Windows 11 interface? Does it look that much different to you than Windows 10?
You know, honestly, I do see the differences and changes. I really like Windows 10, right? But they seem to have really, I don't know. It's like they really kind of took the time to focus on like what do people want to see when they hit these buttons, or what is it that people are doing when they have multiple windows open, or multiple when they're multitasking, essentially. And the snapping in Windows 10 was really nice, but it was a little chunky. You know,
One thing that's really cool in the snapping I should show you is that it remembers. So, like, let's say I got an email or something, and I had to open a new program. I don't have a great login program. So let's say I did this. Like, hey, okay, I'm done with whatever this program is. Get me back to where I was. You can go back to either of these, and you can see it says group, and you click that, it takes you back to the setup that you had, so you can get back to your workflow if something interrupted it, which I think is pretty cool. Also, if you are docking and undocking a laptop, and you pull, and let's say you're docked to a multi-monitor setup, you pull your laptop out of the dock, it's going to minimize the windows that were on the secondary screens rather than trying to transfer them over to the main screen. And then when you plug in again to the dock, if you haven't moved those windows, they'll pop up on the secondary monitors again. So that's pretty cool. But what do you think of the start menu specifically?
Yeah, I was curious about your take on the start menu.
I think the start menu looks great. Personally, like I like how it looks. I don't like where it sits. I know.
So let me show you a couple of hacks.
Okay.
First of all, built into Windows 11. So this isn't even really a hack; it's just a setting change. If you do taskbar settings, you got to click under taskbar behaviors, and there's alignment, and you can align it left. So that takes you back to a more standard position.
That's
of left.
That's important.
And one of the things that people may not have noticed in that was something that Microsoft in the past has not been great about, and that's been transitions, particularly from like setting state to setting state. When you did that, everything slid. It didn't just disappear in one place and appear in another. There was this nice sliding animation that happened as they moved back to the left. It's those types of things that I think they've really focused on this time. Little details.
Little things.
You know, we've seen that. Thankfully, the volume and media control panel is changing finally. I don't know that it's in place yet, but we know that it's coming. Yeah. Okay. There you go. That's.
I mean, I don't see it as being really that much different than the Windows 10 one. I mean,
no, but
it's just cosmetic.
The thing that when you're like playing a track and you change the volume and it pops up in the top left corner, it was all still very Windows 80. Even now, it didn't even match the Windows 10 aesthetic. They didn't update that. Those were the little things about Windows 10 that seemed to be problematic because they were hurriedly trying to get away from Windows 8, and a lot of stuff stayed behind. But in this case, it does seem like, they're looking at those little details. There's no square box in the top left corner when you adjust the volume. When you're changing desktops, when you clicked on that button, the desktop tabs were at the bottom, not the top. So you didn't have to click at the bottom to start it and then click at the top to change them. Those types of little things.
That is a big improvement. But let me show you something. I personally don't like the start menu. And why I don't like it is it's bigger. It's bigger and seemingly has, well, don't know if it has fewer icons, but it's a lot bigger. So this, I measured it, and it's about 100 pixels, at least on this 1080p resolution desktop here, at 100 pixels taller than the Windows 10 start menu. And it makes you click more, right? Because instead of scrolling, you have to click here to get all apps. Which, by the way, there's a lot of wasted space here. And I hate the search function because the only way to get, I mean, you can just hit Window S and you'll get your menu. So I guess in that respect, it's not that many more clicks or any more clicks, but you can't get the box down here. You have to click this. If you click into something that looks like a box, it just takes you there. So the start menu has a search box on it. Oh wow, I don't have to leave this. Click it, it just launches the other one. It's a fake box.
And
so,
that doesn't even match the thing I was just talking about with like the animations and stuff. Mm-hmm. That was a hard, jarring transition.
Yeah.
From the start menu to the search.
They're hoping you don't notice that you actually are in a different menu than you thought you were in. So
it's a different size and it moved to the right.
Yes.
I will say this, though.
They're hoping that you're too busy typing. Maybe you're a hunt and peck typist who's looking down at your keyboard. So I installed this program called OpenShell. There's a couple of different programs. And what it does is it gives you a more classic start menu.
Interesting.
Now,
that's the first time that I've seen UAC dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, for just in your life or me?
No, Windows 11. That was the first Windows 11 UAC I've seen.
Yeah, it's a long story, but I used to always turn it off, and then I got a lot of criticism from people for writing to say you should turn it off. So I have now decided that I will always leave it on. Anyway, so right now you'll see it's not doing anything, right? Because you have to actually go into the OpenShell settings. Here you can choose your style of, but they're all Windows 7. There's some other programs out there. There's one called Start 10, and there's one called Start Is Back ++ that cost money and do the same thing, and maybe look a little more polished. All of them are sort of Windows 7 style, but still a lot more compact. If you want to just replace the start button, they don't have an easy way for you to replace it with one that looks like Windows 10 or Windows 11. So you can try and upload your custom icon, but then you end up with this thing that looks like a celebration of Shell gasoline. So in the menu that you can kind of configure. But what if you want this to look a bit more like Windows 10? Well, there's a registry hack you can do. And I have detailed all of this in an article that I have on Tom's Hardware right now called How to Make Windows 11 Look and Feel Like Windows 10. So there is this registry key, local machine software, Microsoft Windows, current version shell update packages. I'm sure you'll remember that. Undocking disabled is the name of the value for some reason. Change it to 1. Now you got to restart, which will only take a second, and you're going to see what happens, which is that I'm going to get a Windows. You'll see. You can see I'm running this in VMware Workstation, so it's not my actual computer. But I do have Windows 11 running on my actual laptop. So if I go and I open this up, take a second for it to boot, you're going to see that I have a completely different looking taskbar that Microsoft probably would not want me to have, but they left this little hack in there. And it's these sorts of things that I kind of live for, because it's finding the stuff you're not supposed to be able to do, or it's a secret that is kind of always a thrill for me. Although I can't say I found it, more like I saw people doing it. I was following for them. So here you have a Windows. You have the Windows 10 style taskbar, and now if I want this to look like Windows 10, I can. If I go to the settings, not replace the start button because it puts this here anyway. And now I have my Windows 10 start icon. More importantly, you'll see here it says lock the taskbar. I'll unlock it. I can drag it around. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
On Windows 11 natively does not allow you to move the taskbar. So, so that's a trick. Now, the something to know about this is that this doesn't work. This task view button doesn't work properly, and you should hide it, because when you try to do it, it actually causes the bar to crash a little bit, and the search button does nothing. However, if you want to search, there's a search right here in your start where I think it belongs. So, so it's kind of a neat way, and you can see that it eats up a lot less screen real estate. I think it's like 200 or 300 pixels less vertical, and I just want a more humble start menu that gets me to what I need to do. Now, you'll also notice there's a little, where'd my clock go? When you make this change, your clock disappears, but you can get it back permanently by going to this control panel here, and then you turn your clock on and your volume on and your network thing on, your network stuff on, and now we're back in business, right? So so that's my big make Windows 11 look like 10 trick. It also brings back a couple other things, which is the File Explorer now has ribbons in it. You may have noticed that the Windows 11 version of this was really stripped down and didn't show you most of your options. It also shows you the full context menu when you right-click on things, whereas in Windows 11, by default, you get a limit of your top 7 right-click options, and then you have to click Show More Options to see them all. So, what do you guys think? Do you like the hack better or the original?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Obviously, Windows 10 and this interface is the one that we're currently familiar with. It's the one that, there's a half a dozen computers in the studio running Win 10 that all look that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, change is always hard, but there are definitely problems with the Windows 11 overall UI that I'm struggling with. And the weird amount of unused space is certainly one of them.
Yeah.
That I'm struggling with hard. So this is definitely a nice change. Oh, hey, Avram's back.
I just feel like
we cut out for a second.
We did out. I just feel like I feel like Windows is sort of like Star Trek, original series Star Trek movies, right? It's like every other one is good. So now we're on the odd number. Now we're on the odd number Windows 11, and we got a problem because this is the same thing that happened. Think about this. If you go back, people liked Windows 95. At least I liked it. I think they kind of like 98, so maybe that's all right. Windows Me, horrible. Windows XP, beloved. Windows Vista, hated. Windows 7, because it was a reversal of Vista, loved.
Mm-hmm.
Windows 8, wait a second, we're just going to get rid of the Windows and make it Microsoft Window and do everything full screen. Hated. Windows 10 brings back all the things that you liked about Windows 7.
Mm-hmm.
Loved. Windows 11, trying to compromise, but what it's doing is something that Windows 8 did, which is lowering the information density. We want to spread things out, more room between icons, a bigger start menu. At least it doesn't take up the whole screen like Windows 8. And we're going to make you click more times because I think there's a design philosophy here that we're trying to design for non-power users. We're trying to make it easier for them by putting less information on the screen at once and using more white space. I don't like that. Let me pack my stuff in there. Thank you very much.
All of your useful stuff. Yeah.
yes, let me pack all my useful stuff in there at once. I don't need the navigation, like the start menu, to be the star of the show. My work should be the star of the show, the programs that I'm using, not Microsoft's interface. So um, I want to see more information without clicking. I want to have fewer clicks to get to what I'm doing, and I want to be transported away from what I'm working on less. So this is why Windows 8, I think, was people hated it. When you think about it, the amount of clicks that you had to do to get to something wasn't really any different, right? If you hit the start button in Windows 8, you got a full screen start menu and you had to click a tile. It is no more clicks than the start menu on other Windows is, where you click to open the start menu and then you clicked again to on your icon. Still 2 clicks, but the fact that the start menu covered the entire screen over and sort of took you away from what you were doing was annoying. And I feel like this is sort of like that. I mean, it at least doesn't cover the whole screen, but it's trying too hard to have you focus on the UI and less on just trying to get you to where you're going.
Yeah, I can see that.
Same.
And personally, I'm good with full context. In fact, this computer over here has Windows 10 set in full screen start mode. But yeah, I totally understand the idea. The visual switch being jarring, because it can be, for sure. And they've taken that away, but they haven't taken away the look at me.
I definitely am with you, Avram, on the idea that every other Windows is almost like a trial run. Right?
Yeah.
It's like they're trying all of these new things,
And the next one they fix them.
And the next one they fix them. They
Yep.
Everybody's happy. So
Yeah.
I kind of wonder. I feel like we're at the point with Windows 11. They should give us just a lot of options to make it look and function how we want it to, but in a simple way. And I know that's difficult. I'm just saying this as a person who doesn't do any of that. But like,
Yeah, I don't think it is difficult. I think that because you can see third-party utilities that do it. So if Microsoft wanted to, they could give you more options. I think that it's somewhat about branding, right? Like, oh, we don't want people to make it look too much like Windows 10, because then they won't know that, they won't see the difference.
right.
So they're trying to make sure that you see that this is their new vision.
Allow us to make like a hybrid then. There are obviously some things that we like about Windows 11. There's some things we really love about it. It's just some of these decisions that they're making are questionable. So let us take it a step back.
Yep.
And it's
that's why people like Linux, right?
Right. It's a little bit of that iOS versus Android conversation that we've had many times over the last decade, right, Avram? Where Android, you could do just about anything and we're going to take out the app stores and all that stuff. We're going to just talk on the operating system. With Android, you can do almost anything you want. Alante and I have the same phone, and they don't look the same.
Not at all.
Right.
But if we both had an iPhone, whoop, they look the same.
Gotta ask Daddy Apple to do everything.
Exactly. And this feels a little bit like they're adding some of that restriction. Not being able to move the taskbar, weird. I don't understand why people do, and I don't care.
Same.
That's the thing. It's not my place to try and understand it.
Right, exactly. Like I like it at the bottom, but why wouldn't you let people put it at the top? There's another hack, there's another hack, by the way, which I encourage folks to go to tomshardware.com to see these, that just lets you move the taskbar to the top. So if you like the Windows 11 taskbar and you don't want to get into hacking it to have the Windows 10 taskbar, which admittedly is a little bit of a risky move, because I'm sure they'll break it in a future update. there's another registry hack that puts the start menu, the taskbar on the top of the screen, but it's not really meant to be used. So some things, like I think when you're changing the volume, suddenly appear in the lower right anyway, because it's not really supported. But I do appreciate them. I do appreciate them making these things difficult, because we can get a lot of people to read articles because of it. So I always appreciate bugs or limitations like this. However, every week they seem to be issuing a new window build, and then I have to go back and test all the hacks to make sure they still work, because rather than adding more hacks, they seem to be taking them away.
Yeah, there was a whole list of things that disappeared in a build that came out a couple of days ago that I heard about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there was actually an option in the first preview to get the Windows 10 start menu, the real Windows 10 start menu, which has tiles and everything, back just with a single registry entry, and they killed it in the second preview build. So
gotcha.
Sad to say. Now, all I'm going to say is we're covering this daily. We have some major articles on this on tomshardware.com, so please check us out, because this is my life lately, is tracking these things, hanging out on sites like WinArrow and 11 Forum, where there are a lot of people exchanging this type of information, because it's really hard to figure out when there's a new registry hack. I've also spent many hours just trying things to see if I can find one. So anyway,
that doesn't sound terrifying at all.
Yeah.
But come check it out. And you may find something that you can change in Windows 11 that you didn't like, or just read our article on how to install it, or how to install it in a Windows virtual machine so you can play with it like I'm playing with it now, without risking any of your real apps and data.
And on that topic, I am working on doing a thing about converting a non-supported computer into a supported computer with a TPM chip. As soon as it arrives, I'll let you know how all of that goes, because I have a computer in the office that's one generation out.
I should mention that when I use the ISO file, I'm curious for you to try this, because I've mainly done it in a virtual machine. But when I installed it from the ISO file, that did a clean install, I installed on machines that had none of the requirements. And it didn't give me any error. So I installed it on a virtual machine that had 2 gigabytes of RAM, no TPM, and no secure boot, and it didn't give me a single error. So rather than doing the upgrade install, I suggest that you see my article on how to do a clean Windows 11 install, which explains how to download the ISO file, and then you can and try that, because you may not need the TPM chip.
Interesting.
Good to know.
At least for now. I mean, eventually, for real, you probably will, but
sure.
At least for now, I think that works.
Very cool. Well, I'm going to check that out personally, and see if I can make that work. And then once that TPM chip shows up, which who knows when that'll happen, I'll do a follow-up on that experience as well. As always, Avram, thank you, because for me, the only systems that I have that aren't mission critical that I'm willing to do this on are not supported. So I have been relying on you, my friend, and I know others are as well. So thank you for that, and I cannot wait to see what we talk about next time. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Piltch Point with Avram Piltch. If you did, Please subscribe to our channel and, of course, hit the notification bell since subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. And if you've got topics you'd like us to discuss in the future, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you don't want to follow us on YouTube, that's okay. There's a lot of other ways that you can follow our content. You can find all of that by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all the different ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.